After weeks of praying for the gifts of the Holy Spirit, I had a dream that stopped me cold. A violent storm, a massive sea dragon, and a message that would eventually point to something hidden inside my own church. After following the Holy Spirit and discovering the power of prayer, I wanted to know what else I should be doing. What else does the Holy Spirit have in store for me? I wanted to learn more about the gifts of the Spirit. In 1 Corinthians, Paul writes about some of the spiritual gifts. He lists them as the word of wisdom, the word of knowledge, faith, gifts of healings, working of miracles, prophecy, discerning of spirits, different kinds of tongues, and the interpretation of tongues. Great. Now I have a list of some spiritual gifts. How do I know which of these have been given to me by God? I really had no idea. I read online and took some tests to try and figure out what I was given and how to use it to glorify God. Then I did what Paul suggested in 1 Corinthians 14. I pursued love and desired spiritual gifts. I prayed daily for the Lord to grant me the gifts that He wanted me to use. And because Paul mentioned it, I also asked for the gift of prophecy and the interpretation of tongues. I will admit that this was hard for me to do. Prophets are never wrong, and to request this felt incorrect for me. However, it was in the Bible, so I obeyed. I prayed daily for weeks. I had volunteered for the prayer team at my church. I prayed for people every Sunday. I thought my gifts may have been faith and the discerning of spirits, which to this day I still believe is one of the gifts given to me due to seeing the Jezebel spirit I mentioned in a previous video. I enjoyed being on the prayer team and trying to listen to the Holy Spirit guide me to those who needed prayer. While the team had a few members on it, I was the new guy and it wasn't really organized. Most people just stood up at the end of the service and offered to pray for anyone who wanted it. No training or rules per se, just dive in and hope you don't drown. It isn't for everyone and not something I was used to since I didn't like the attention being on me. Then one night as I slept, I had a dream. This was unlike any dream I have ever had. I was at sea in the middle of a violent storm. Everything was dark and blue. Heavy rain was falling from every direction. However, I was not in a boat. I was trying to fight a giant sea dragon. I had begun to climb its neck, which was massive. I was using all of my strength to try and move the neck. This is when I realized that I was overpowered and didn't stand a chance. This is also when I realized that this dream was from God. For me, dreams typically were events that happened to me or around me, where I had a first-person perspective of the story. This was a bit different. Not only was I taking an active part in the dream, I was also watching it at a distance, almost like a third-person perspective. While I was holding on to the dragon for dear life, I looked down in an effort to see his body but couldn't. The waves were so rough and the water was churning as the monster moved through it so fast that the body was hidden from my view. So I looked up, and the rain was coming down so hard and it was so cloudy that I could not even see his head. This was even the case as the view began to switch to third person and zoom out. I still couldn't see the entire monster. This thing was enormous. Yet as my heart was racing and adrenaline pumping, I knew this was a dream from God. I felt that this was definitely something that He was showing me, and I was supposed to pay attention. All of a sudden, I woke up and could feel my heart pumping fast. I must have been thrashing around because I woke my wife up as well. She asked if I was okay. I told her that I had a dream about a sea dragon, and she was to remind me about it in the morning as it was something I wasn't supposed to forget. I then turned over with a smile on my face and went back to sleep. Then came morning. I remembered the dream in its entirety. But what was I supposed to do with it? What did it mean? I had no idea. I researched sea dragon in the Bible and discovered Leviathan. In Job, Psalms, and Isaiah, Leviathan is described as a large sea monster and seen as a formidable adversary. It can also be seen as a connection to chaos and destruction. I prayed about it for days, but still didn't know what to do. I finally shared my dream with somebody I trusted. He was the one that brought me to the prayer team when I asked him about it. He was also the leader of a small Bible study group that I joined after he invited me. He was an older, retired gentleman that loved the Lord. I told him about the dream and asked what I was supposed to do with it. He told me to go see the associate pastor, Danny, and tell him about the dream. He has a background in gifts and will know how to advise you. So that's exactly what I did. I made an appointment and went to see Pastor Danny. He met me and then took me back to a room in the church I had never been in before. We were in a room by ourselves, and nobody would interrupt us. As soon as I sat down, it all hit me. All of a sudden, I knew why I was there. I told him the details of my dream, and he listened without interrupting me at all. Then, After I had finished, I looked at him with tears in my eyes and told him, "Leviathan is here in this church." Pastor Danny only asked me one question. He said, "Do you think it is here among the leadership, the staff, or the congregation?" I stopped to think about it for a second, and as I was about to say that I didn't know, it struck me. I told him it was the support staff. I recalled that in my dream I couldn't see the head, which represented the leadership, and that I couldn't see the body, which represented the congregation, but I could only see the neck, which supports the head. He looked at me and responded very professionally and told me that now it is his job to take what I have provided him and to pray about it. I told him thank you and that my job here was done. The weight was removed from my shoulders and I no longer had to worry about it. What happened after all of this, you might ask? Well, it was never brought to my attention again, so I don't have a direct answer for you. However, there was a change in the way the church did prayer at the end of the service. No longer did the prayer team go to the front to pray for people. Instead, they had staff pastors waiting for people at 2 exits. I later learned that there was some type of conflict amongst the prayer team volunteers. I didn't bother to gather the details because I didn't care. I was there to serve the Lord by praying for people. However, I do wonder if that is the chaos that my dream symbolized. I began this story by talking about the gifts of the Spirit. I went looking for answers about my spiritual gifts, and instead God taught me humility. He reminded me that His Spirit reveals only what we need to know, and no more. My role wasn't to fix anything, expose anyone, or seek recognition. It was simply to listen, speak when told, and trust that God would handle the rest.